Good morning. I am here to tell you about Tinkercad. You can find Tinkercad by just going to tinkercad.com. It is a website where you can manipulate and create 3D objects for 3D printing, among other things. And anything that you create in Tinkercad is saved. So you can go back and find it and edit it again on any computer that's connected to the internet. So I'm just going to show you some of the basics. This is your work plane. You can change what you're seeing by using this box up here. You can grab a corner and then shift it around. You can also hold down the control key to do the same thing. If you want to look at a specific object, you can select it, and then over here, fit view to selection, it will kind of zoom in on whatever you've selected. So let's start with some basic shapes over here on this drop-down menu. You can access a bunch of different stuff, but basic shapes will take you through most of what you need. So if I were to bring a box over here, just to show you what you can control and change, you can change this from a solid to a hole, which is how you would cut a square-shaped hole out of a 3D object. But let's start with solid object right now. You can change the length and width in here, but you can also change it on the work plane. So you can kind of see that these white dots are on the base of our object. So if I want to change this in the X and Y dimensions, then I would use a corner spot right here. If I want to change it on just one dimension, these midpoint black dots, they're how I can change things on just one dimension. If I want to change how tall it is, you notice from the base of our object, there's this dot, dot, dot line that takes you to this white dot on top. Now this is how I can make things shorter or taller with that white box right there. If you are going to, say, make a keychain like this over here, which is a nice fast print to make something customizable that doesn't take very long to make, I usually stick around 3 millimeters. If you're uncomfortable using millimeters, down here you can go to Edit Grid and change it to inches. And if I wanted to stack something on top of something else, I would need to physically raise this from the build plate. And you do that by using this black triangle right here. And that distance that it's showing on the right is how many millimeters above the build plate it is. So if I want to bring it back down, I just wait until that goes to 0, and now it's back on the build plate. Almost. There we go. So that's the basics of changing the shape. But what if you want to change the orientation of that shape? You see these things that have popped up, this double arrow curve. That's how you can rotate things on any dimension. And what's really cool about Tinkercad is if you grab this and you stay within the dial, it'll snap to major angles like 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, that kind of thing. But if you take your arrow outside, you can have a little bit more fine control depending on what you need for your design. For instance, one of the things that you can do is make a bunch of things by grouping shapes together. So I made this cat by bringing over a heart, rotating it, and then stretching it so that it's this yellow shape that's upside down here. See, like that. And then I took 2 cylinders and created the bottom of the cat and the cat's head. Now I took a roof shape like this, and I changed the angle and the shape so that it would be these 2 ears like that. When I got one ear that I was really happy with, I did a Control Copy, Control V, and then rotated it 180 degrees so that they would be angled in opposite directions. So then, after I had created all of the different pieces, I wanted to make sure that they were lined up nice and neat. You see how they all seem to be centered? How you do that is you select your objects by holding down the Shift key, and then going up here to this Align tool. And I wanted them to be aligned to the center. So that's how they all got oriented that way. Now to make the tail, you can use this scribble tool, which you pull it over, and then it takes you to this screen where you draw whatever you want. And this can be a cat tail, it can be the first letter of your name, It's kind of takes some practice to get good at it. I'm still working on it, but you can erase it and fine tune it later. So if I say I'm done, then it takes me back where anything that I've drawn has turned into a three-dimensional object that you can then manipulate and change. And in some cases, add to your little cat. So now that I've put all of these pieces together, I want them to be one object. So I'm going to select all of my pieces again, which you can use the shift key to do, or you can just draw a box around everything that you want. And then I'm going to go back up here by the align tool and see this group tool. I'm going to hit group, and now they are all one object. So if I wanted to make this into a keychain like this is, I would go back to my basic shapes and get a tube, which I would then size down, attach to the cat, so it would look like that. So there are a bunch of different things that you can do. There are a lot of things outside of the basic shapes, other fonts and shapes and things to play around with. Just to give you an idea of what's possible, I'll show you a couple of examples that we have made in the past. So I would like to go in and tinker this. This is how you can go in and edit something that you have made before. So you can see there's a bunch of different ways that you can make a keychain. So you can punch a hole through an object. You can add a ring to it. You can create things that have enough empty space that you can use a keychain. If you want to punch a hole through an object, you would take an object like so, and then take another object that's the kind of hole you want to make. So we want to make a circular hole. So I would take this cylinder, and instead of being solid, I want it to be a hole. And then you would probably take a little bit more care in positioning than I'm doing now, but just for example's sake, you put it wherever you want to punch the hole. And then just like we did with the cat, you want to group that hole with the object you're cutting a hole out of. And then when it's grouped together, you can now see that that has a hole in it. So those are the very basics of Tinkercad. I hope you have fun creating new things.